I am live. It is the 14th of August 2023 and I've decided to read a new book by Joan Marshal Grants. I have read it before many years ago and all I remember is that it was quite brutal. But there it is. It's called Eyes of Horus and I give you a quick synopsis, the back of the book. Ra, son of a priestess of Ra, and heir to the nomarch of the Oryx, grows up in a corrupt land devoted to the worship of Set, the Lord of Fear. When an adult, he joins a conspiracy known as Eyes of Horus, which is dedicated to breaking the rule of fear and lifting the shadows of lust, greed, and cruelty from Egypt. When all effort to avoid war falls, Ra leads the Eyes of Horus into battle against the old regime and all its evil priests. Eyes of Horus is one of the most exciting of all of Joan Grants' far memory novels. Because Joan Marshal Grants was a seer, she lived from 1907 till 1989, and I've just finished reading her autobiography, which was published in 1956. She was a fascinating woman, and she was there married to Leslie, but she got married a few more times before she passed away. Her last husband was, I can't remember now, doesn't matter. Kelsey, her last husband was Dennis Kelsey. Anyway, this one, Eyes of Horus, was first published in 1942 in Great Britain. And Egypt, at the close of I think this is the 11th dynasty, was divided into 18 nomes, each governed by a hereditary nomarch. The narrator of this story, Ra-Hotep, was the only son of the nomarch of the Oryx. The tombs of the family can still be seen at Beni Hassan. There is considerable divergence of opinions as to the dating of the Egyptian king lists. By the long dating, which includes an additional Sothis cycle, the action of Eyes of Horus took place approximately 3,500 BC, 2,000 years later than the events described in my first book, Winged Pharaoh. So, I shall read one chapter today, and then I will continue, as I have done before, one after the other. It is dedicated Ra-Up Stories of Mary and Pias is for Charles and Gillian. Part 1. Ra's Messenger. By the time I was 7, I could not remember my mother very clearly, though sometimes just before I went to sleep came a memory of her voice, telling me small, comfortable stories before she carried the lamp out of my room, or the sound of her laughter when she and my father had played with me as though they too were children. I remembered Niam, my nurse, telling me I had a sister, and mother not coming to my room anymore as part of the same vague unhappiness. I learned that even grown-up people cried, and the house seemed full of whispers which stopped when I tried to hear what they were saying. The last thing I really remember about her happened soon after my 2nd birthday. I had been told I might go into her room but must be very quiet because she was ill. She smiled and let me kiss her and said that she would soon be well again, long before my sister was old enough to join in our games. I noticed she had grown very thin and seemed too tired to raise her head from the pillow. Her bed was so high that my head was on the same level as hers, and I whispered to the long wooden leopards, which made the sides of it, to guard her well. Sometimes I saw the baby in the arms of another woman who came to help Niam look after me, and I knew Niam was jealous because she had no milk to give to it. The baby was named Kias. At first I was disappointed because it couldn't talk to me and only cried or made pigeon noises. My father seemed to like it, for often I saw him coming out of the room it lived in. Then I was sent away to Roydan's house, and when I came back, mother wasn't there anymore. Next, Ra told me she had gone ahead of us to the land where the gods live. I asked where that land was, and she said, beyond the sunset, the land Ra loves so much that he is always hurrying through the day to get home. I thought the land where Ra lived would be very hot, for he is the sun as well as a god, but Necht Ra said it was a beautiful country, where all the trees and plants are without blemish and animals never try to hurt each other or get ill. He said it was only while we were human that we saw Ra as the sun. He was too shining for us to see with ordinary eyes. After I was dead, I might see him, and he would be like a man, only more perfect than I could imagine. Then I asked Necht Ra if one had to be dead to get to the land beyond the sunset. And he said people usually had to wait until then, though some, if Ra had a special love for them, might go there when they were asleep. After that, I used to pray very hard that Ra would remember how much he loved my father, and take him to where my mother was, and let him remember all about it in the morning, so that he would stop being unhappy. I wanted to ask Father if he remembered, but for a long time I didn't, because I knew it hurt him to speak about her. I didn't tell him I'd prayed to Ra about it. I just asked him if he ever went to see Mother in the land beyond the sunset. He had let me be in the room with him while he was scribing. Quite often he made his own writing signs, although he was the nomarch and had 2 scribes who worked only for him. I thought he hadn't heard what I said, for he went on sharpening a reed without answering. Then he said very slowly, "No, Ra-up, I've never been there. When Ra shall judge me worthy, he will send a messenger to take me to her." "Will I see the messenger when he comes for you?" "Nobody sees him save the one whom he comes to fetch. Always remember, Ra-up, that when he comes to you, he is only Ra's messenger come to bring you home." "How shall I know him? What will he look like?" "Ra has many messengers, and their robes are so many-colored as the clouds which hide his land from ours. Some are in green, gentle as the quiet morning, and others wear the warrior's scarlet." "Is the messenger's name Death?" Niam told me that Death had come to take Mother away. I thought he was an old man in a black robe with a kind of hood hiding his face. That's why I cried so much when I knew she had to go away with him. I only stopped being unhappy when Necht Ra told me about the country she was living in. Can I tell Niam that Death isn't an old man in black? Instead of answering my question, Father said, "Come and look at this picture. I don't think you've seen it before." He took a papyrus from one of the shelves and unrolled it on the table. It was a wild geese flying over a very blue pool at which 2 gazelles were drinking. "The colors are bright, aren't they, Ra?" I nodded. "Shut your eyes. What do you see now?" I was puzzled. What do I see now? Nothing. It's all dark. "And what color is dark?" "Well, dark's black." He picked me up and set me on his knees with his arm around me. That's why Niam thought Death wore a black robe. It's only the people who shut their eyes against him who don't know of the bright colors he wears. Smile at Death and watch for his coming. Then you will always recognize him as Ra's messenger. Okay, I stopped this first chapter here. I'm reading one after the other. Have a very good Monday. It is Monday.